Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Geek Girl Creates with Geek Girl Con. I am Jedi General Sovos Piva of the Grand Army of the Republic, sometimes of Camino Temple, and I am here to teach you how to make face masks. It's very exciting. With me are several members of the Geek Girl Con. There we go. With me are several members of the Geek Girl Con team. We'll just sort of go across my screen. We have Jen. Go ahead and say hi. Tell us who you are.
Hello, everybody. Push to talk gets you every time. I'm Jen, she, her, they pronouns, and I actually don't have May the 4th be with you any Star Wars memorabilia on me, but I do have a Band-Aid. It's the Mandalorian. So that's my Star Wars thing for today while we make masks.
It counts.
Excellent. Prime?
Hello, I'm Prime. I am the Twitter PM at Geek Girl Con. I am wearing some Star Wars paraphernalia. I've got my Target R2-D2 shirt on, and of course my BB-8 hat. And I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. And then Tina.
Hey guys, I'm Tina. I'm the social media manager, and I have a Star Wars shirt on today as well. And all of my figures are up in boxes ahead of me, so happy May the 4th.
When I am not being a Jedi General, I am Torrey Stenmark. I am the assistant for the DIY Science Zone at Geek Girl Con. But we are here. So it is one of the grand holidays of the Jedi tradition, May the 4th, of course, because May the 4th be with you. So what we're going to do tonight is talk about face masks, right? So all of my clone troopers have those nice helmets that seal down, and they're always protected all the time. But it turns out that a helmet kind of blocks your ability to interact with the Force, and honestly, so does that armor. Like, it looks cool and all, but you can't do sick flips in the armor. So that's why most of the Jedi don't bother to wear more than our gauntlets, and that's why we have to wear these nice face masks. So I have a few examples. This is sort of my favorite style of face mask. It's the one we'll be making on stream, but I got a couple others to talk about too while we're here. So this is a pleated face mask. So it sort of stretches out here. It's designed to fit over an N95 or other protective mask. So it helps protect that, gives you a little extra layer, but you can also just wear it over your normal actual face, like so. So my face masks, I like typically the ones that tie in the back of the head. They feel a little more secure. And trust me, anytime you're doing exciting choreography or practicing your fight forms, you really want to have a good secure mask. So this is my favorite kind. It's pleated, got fabric ties. And you can also put elastic ear loops on. So this is the same kind of face mask, although it's designed to match my friend Padme Amidala's outfit, one of her many outfits. She wears far too many costumes. But this one has the ear loops, which sometimes you don't want something over your head. It's a little faster to put on than bow ties. So we'll talk about both sort of options here. Other styles you might see. So you might have these nice sort of, they kind of look like a duck bill, right? Like so. Gets a little further down away from your eyes, so it gives you a little more clearance that way, but has a little bit just sort of a different feel to it. So this one, the Arabesh text here reads Black Lives Matter. So that was made for me by a friend with our Rebellion logo on it. So those are the sort of three kinds of homemade masks that I have. But I did want to share you can buy a lot of really cute masks online or wherever, right? And when you're buying fun masks, they tend to be flat rectangles. And a flat rectangle will cover your face, but it also tends to leave these big gaps because your face, you can stretch it but the side of your face kind of sticks out, right? It's got this sort of angle going on here, which is why this shape of face mask fits the shape of your face, right? So that's kind of what we're dealing with. So when you buy a mask that's just a flat rectangle, it doesn't fit as well. So this is our beautiful and stylish Geek Girl Con swag mask from this year. When I got it, it was a flat rectangle. It didn't quite fit right. So what I did is I put the mask on my face and I pinched it to be like, okay, but I want it to fit over my, so you just put it on there and you pinch it to go, okay, now it fits better. And I did the same thing under the chin. I just sort of like, pinch. And I put it on inside out so that I could do those pinches, mark them. And then I just sewed them. So I just sewed it with a straight seam and then I finished the edge with a serger because I'm fancy like that. And now it fits much better and it just feels much safer and more comfortable to wear. So that's my first advice is if you've got a flat commercial mask, 2 stitches, 2 seams will make it fit better, look better, protect you better. So yeah, so you can try that at home. You don't even need a sewing machine or anything for that. Like I recommend a sewing machine for the other ones just because they're more sewing, but this, all you need is a needle and a piece of thread and you can make any commercial face mask look better. So you should start there. Feel free to interrupt me at any point in time with questions. I talk a lot. It's one of the problems of training Padawans and younglings is that you just start talking and you don't stop. So feel free to cut me off. Feel free, those of you on stream watching, to ask questions in the chat. We're keeping an eye on that. And I'm always happy to take questions around any of that. So yeah. So that's sort of the one option is just tailor it to make it fit better. That also works if you've got one that feels just too big for your face. Putting those darts in will help it feel smaller and more fitted. So yeah. But like I said, this is my favorite really because it comes right up under your eye, right up over your nose, under your eyes, and it runs right down under the chin. It's really secure. Then you can tie it. You can tie it around your ponytail if you've got a ponytail. Tie it behind your neck. You can pin it. You can pin the ties to your ponytail or whatever. So it's very secure. It's very comfortable. So that's what we're gonna do.
Exciting.
Great, fun. So, are we ready to start?
I got my fabric and my scissors.
That's what you need. That's what you need.
Let's see everybody's fabric.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Show off your fabric, please.
So I got this at Ben Franklin's last night. Let's see.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's like a colorful Star Wars day.
Darth Vader never looks so happy.
Mine is more of a Day of the Dead sugar skull.
Ooh.
Oh, that's cool.
That's very cool.
So Amazon sent me the wrong fabric. But I have this golden black fabric and this really pretty golden and blue fabric, which could be Star Wars. Yeah. And I'm going to just draw little lightsabers on it with a fabric pin.
It's C-3PO-esque.
There you go.
I love it. So the recommended fabric for this is quilting cotton, right? I recommend what they call a fat quarter, which is just a little more than 1/4 of a yard. So a fat quarter, a little over, because that's sort of probably enough fabric to make the 2 layers of the mask plus the trim. You can do it. So most of mine are 2 different fabrics for, one for the mask and one for the trim, just because I like how it looks. But you certainly don't have to do that. You can do, you can have it all be the same thing if you want. Personal preference. I like just the contrasting look. So that's pretty cool. My fabric, when I go off screen, let me know. So my fabric is not actually quilting cotton. What I'm going to be using here is the same silk, raw silk that lines the collar of my tunic here so that it will match my uniform. Now this is fairly tightly woven, but just to be sure that it's thick enough and secure enough, I'm gonna line it, I'm gonna do extra layers. I'm gonna use 2 layers of this white linen. It's the white linen that my under tunic is made from. So, right, Jedi wear my brown outer tunic and my silk under tunic. The collar of my tunic is silk, but the base, the body of it is made of this linen. So I'm gonna be using that. And then the ties for mine are gonna match my tabards. It's the same fabric. Not all Jedi make their own uniforms, but a lot of us do. You know, it's something to do on the downtime when you're not off saving the galaxy. So that's my choice. So it's gonna be a little different for like 2 seconds while to look at what that looks like for me. So then we need a pattern. Where did I put my pattern? There it is. Then we need a pattern. I don't know if you can share the pattern piece link.
Oh.
I have it, but I don't have a quick way to put it on the chat. But the pattern piece is basically this big trapezoid here. And if you look at it, it's not the same size as the final garment, if you will, as the final mask, right? The pattern piece is a lot wider than that because we're putting in all those pleats. All right.
I'm getting the link to the pattern. I'll put it in chat.
So would these masks fit a small face or more of a large? Because I have a large face. So I don't know if I need to add like a couple inches to the side to cover my whole face.
So the final measurement and this final piece ends up back by the ear, right? My final piece measurement is about 3 inches. And that's again back here. So if you try, you know, hold it up and see, or, you know, measure out, or, you know, maybe you put your hands on the side of your face or wherever. And if 3 inches there feels like it'll be too small, or the front, the part that covers your face. So if you take this measurement from the bridge of your nose to a little ways under your chin, the total measurement on the garment of that should be somewhere around 6.5 inches. So if that feels not big enough or whatever, you can play with that.
Thank you. I mean, really, finding masks for big faces is hard. So I feel like
Sure, yeah,
people benefit.
absolutely. You can scale it down too if you're making a mask for a kid or someone with a smaller face. My suggestion, honestly, might be just to throw one together with the pattern and then see how you need to adjust it. If you take those measurements and you're like, it might be okay, I'm not sure, go ahead and try that. So, like so. All right, so I brought you over here to my work table, like so. I have a nice cutting mat. And the way the pattern works is one side of it is on the fold. So one of the other things I like about this one is there is no center front seam. Not because it doesn't, like, it's fine in terms of protection, but just because then there's the seams in your face and on your mouth, and here it's smoother against your face. So I like that version, which means we need to cut this on a fold. So you're going to lay out your fabric. Let's see if I can give you an awkward view. There you go. So you're going to lay out your fabric and fold it in half. And you're going to lay the longer edge, it's marked fold on the pattern, out on that fold, like so.
General, does it matter if we are cutting it on the inside of our fabric or on the outside of our fabric?
For this, it doesn't matter yet. It'll matter when we're assembling it, but for this, it does not yet matter. So you can pin it down. You can just put a pattern weight of some sort on there. You know, whatever you've got to hold it in place. I like using, there we go. I like using a rotary cutter, but they're also they're also a little terrifying because it's easy to get going and be worried about your fingers. Like I have not yet cut myself on one of these, but I am always very careful about it. So you can also use scissors. You can pin it down sort of however you want to do, but you want to cut out 2 copies of this pattern. You know, if you're doing the front and the lining in 2 different fabrics, then 1 of each. If you're doing the same fabric, which works fine, a fat quarter should be enough to do that. You can just do that. Try and cut it near the edge as best as possible, just to save material. So I'm just gonna line that up. Light destroyed.
Does it need to be a very clean cut?
I mean, you want it to be approximately straight, but it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Those of us in Pride Squadron tend to say, well, straighter than me. So you can take that as a useful guidance as well. Pride Squadron is the community social and support group for the LGBTQ members of the Star Wars costuming communities. There we go. Yes, no, come on. What are you doing?
So glad you're here, Prime. I feel like you and I are looking at this the same way. And Tina's like, bam.
Right? I got this. I got the first one cut. It looks pretty good. I'm happy with that.
Make my own pattern because my printer wouldn't work, so I'm like desperately trying to hopefully the angles are it'll work, whatever.
Well,
I'm not gonna lie. I had slight anxiety about doing this because I was like, oh my god, I haven't sewn in ages. And here I am.
I haven't really sewn ever, so we'll get through this together.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience.
Exactly. If I can come out of this with a functional mask, then literally anyone can.
And that's why we're here.
Exactly.
Is that your machine, Prime, or did you have to borrow one?
It's my mom's.
Shout out to Prime's mom. Thank you.
Yay. Thanks, Mom. I told her if I need her, I'm gonna shout out to her on stream so she can come do all my seams for me.
So the advantage of this, like, you know, I don't want to minimize that, but this is a pattern that's almost entirely straight seams. It's not really got any kind of complicated fitting or anything like that, so it's not that intimidating as these things go.
Nice.
So I have, and it's pretty forgiving because it's a mask. Like, it's not like you're trying to do. I can tell you all about my current project, which, like, it is a lot of project. That is not a beginner project, and this one I feel pretty good about is. So, yeah.
Little vain, and I've seen some bad masks on people, and I really do think nowadays some masks can really help out the face.
I just love that
their cheekbones.
Yeah. I'm surprised I haven't seen like a makeup tutorial on like contouring with your face mask.
If someone would just put the shades and like the steps on how to do it on a face mask, I might do it properly.
Oh.
It would look good. Tina, are you a sewer?
I can be. Yes, I sew. I don't know that it's like something I do avidly. If I gave you a tour of my office right now, there's all kinds of craft happening. So, and my sewing machine pre-pandemic conked out. So almost the whole entire year last year, I didn't have anything to make a mask myself. And everybody was buying sewing machines to, you know, make masks. So I just got a new one.
Excellent.
So, question for you, Jedi Master.
Yes.
So, I don't have any pins. I used my bubbly can to weight it down, and it's not quite the same. Is that okay? Should I try to trim it down so it's...
No, they'll be fine because it'll come out fine in the when you sew them together.
Okay, perfect. Phew.
I would just one of those people that would keep trimming until it's absolutely perfect and there'd be no fabric left. I've done that.
Right?
Like, oh, it's still not straight.
I don't think these are fabric scissors, so I probably shouldn't try to hack at it too bad.
Scissor twins.
Oh, nice! Yay!
The classic orange-handled scissors are a key part of any Jedi's repertoire.
Yeah!
Orange Scissors Club.
It's like our lightsabers, but...
Ooh. Speaking of lightsabers, let me know when you're ready to move on to the next thing. But did everybody see the new retractable lightsaber that they just announced?
I did.
It looks so cool. I really hope they go on sale.
There's something to be said for the classics, but
the kid that I nanny is like a Star Wars fanatic because his parents are, and he has all the encyclopedias. So every day for breakfast, like he'll have someone read him a book. And this morning it was my turn, and he looked at me and he was like, "All right, Jen." He was like, "Who was the general of blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "Whoa. It's like 6:45, kid. Like, tell me, educate me." He just like pops open the encyclopedia of his Legos, and they're all like Star Wars figures, and he goes, "Bam!" I was like, "Okay, boss." But did you know today was May the 4th? And he goes, "No." And then he just like died laughing all day because he thought it was the funniest thing.
Aw, that's amazing.
Excellent. All right. Do we all have our pieces cut out?
Yes.
Cool. So you're then gonna make them become one piece of fabric. So you need for it to be properly protective, you need a minimum of 2 layers of tightly woven cotton. So that's what we've got. Like I said, I've got the 3rd silk layer because I am extra, which is in fact the nature of the Jedi. The Sith will tell you that they are extra, and that's true, but we are elegantly extra. They're just Hot Topic Sith. You can tell them I said that. I will fight them. So
I love that.
Hot Topic.
It's not even, I'm not even making this up. Some of them really do shop at Intergalactic Hot Topic.
Oh, I understand.
So
Intergalactic Hot Topic. Oh, that's amazing.
Now we have my sewing machine set up here. So I have a 2 sewing machines set up, and we're actually going to use both of them. Y'all don't need to have these 2, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about both of them. But so I always prefer to machine sew everything. It's sturdier, it's faster, and I don't have the patience. I spend all my patience tracking down those gosh dang separatists, and I don't have patience for sewing with by hand. I respect those who choose to do it. It can be very meditative. So you're going to make sure that your fancy fabrics are outside so you can see them, and pin it together if you've got pins. Let's see, which side up do I want to sew on? This way, I think. So you'll just, make sure that the pointy, the top is top and the bottom is bottom. The top is the one that's a little sharper of an angle, a little pointier. I like to put in pins, just every few centimeters, to make sure that when I'm sewing, it doesn't get away from me, because it will try. And again, I have enough to deal with the gosh dang separatists.
Ooh, separatists. Okay.
I have not yet had a chance to see the new Bad Batch series, but I'm very excited about it. on Disney Plus. Okay. I have since we're here on this is crafting hour with General Piva. I use fancy silk pins, which are longer and thinner than the regular pins. Let's see if I can get a good comparison on this. I probably can't. In any case, the pins are designed to be used on this kind of fancy fabric. All right. So again, I use my sewing machine, and I am going to go ahead and thread that. Sewing machines are not too bad. It's the sergers that are possessed by the dark side of the force, but honestly, a sewing machine is not too bad.
Hey, it's Janae wants to know what color all of our lightsabers would be.
Oh, that's an excellent question. Go for it.
I'm going to pick green just because green's my favorite color. I don't know if it means anything in the Star Wars universe, but that was Luke Skywalker's, right? So can't go wrong.
I get black is my favorite color, but I don't think you can have a black lightsaber. Although that would be cool.
It would be so cool. And like little bits of glitter at the end that spark out.
Yeah.
Wait, what is...
I'm going to go with that.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone watched The Mandalorian, or I believe The Clone Wars, but there is a sword that looks sort of like a black lightsaber.
Ooh.
I don't know what it is. I'm imagining it's not a lightsaber, but everywhere Star Wars fans are so mad at me.
That's the dark saber. It's traditionally wielded by the rulers of the planet Mandalore. So we see Sabine Wren carries it at some point. Pre Vizsla carries it. Din Djarin has it most recently, as I recall. But yeah, it basically looks like a black lightsaber.
Is it made out of the same thing?
Saber.
The Kyber crystals?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I'm not up on that lore.
Might be made out of their Beskar. Isn't that what the metal is?
Oh, nice. Yeah, maybe.
That's the armor pieces. Yeah. Let's see up here.
I think I would do purple. And like every time it popped out, it would just like say a line from Purple Rain. And then I would be so happy.
Music when
it could be like,
rain.
it mean to cause you any pain, and then bam.
Love that.
Excellent. Well, I have taken the blade off for the moment, but the lights on my saber are pale blue.
Nice.
So, yeah. It makes a surprisingly good pattern weight, though. So, all right. So we want to sew together our pieces of fabric, and what you're going to do is take a 1/2-inch seam and just sew around the outside edge.
Okay.
Let's see.
I'm going to mute myself because I don't know how loud my machine is.
Right. So we got my machine set up here, and I'm just going to sort of tear through that.
Okay, so where are we sewing exactly? The top?
Around all of the outside edges. Just to make these two pieces of fabric are about to become one piece of fabric. We're going to stick them together and treat them like that the same way. So you just sew around the outside, 1/2 inch in from the edge. So your machine, if you're doing it by machine, it's got a line marked on it for 1/2 inch, and you just sew that all the way around.
Okay.
like Star Warsy music.
Really regretting
I
doing
should've
this
thought.
by hand, but I kind of want to do this for all the non-machine people out there. This is for you. We'll see how long this takes before I go to hot glue.
Weird sewing machine instances of the night. One, because my thread just broke for no reason. Just straight up broke. So that's fun. We should keep a running tally in the chat. How many times have these machines been weird? One.
You can do how many times I poked myself with a needle. I can tell you it's like 5 right now.
Sometimes the project demands blood.
It works best with it.
I have learned one of my very useful force abilities is run very quickly so as not to bleed on your material, particularly with this white or ivory. You don't want blood stains.
How would you get out a blood stain? If it happened.
The
With that kind of
usual
fabric.
recommendation is cold water right away before it starts to set up. You can use club soda to start to bleach it, or you can use actual bleach. Once it's, if it's in there, you kind of have to use bleach to get rid of stuff like that.
Yeah. And bleach
yeah.
is okay on that kind of fabric, and like nothing would happen.
So if it's on like plain cotton fabric, it might take some of the color out. So I once got an opportunity. It was a Geek Girl Con, actually. It was. Several years back, I got to meet Kelly Sue DeConnick, who is the creator of, or the writer of Captain Marvel, who gave Carol Danvers the Captain Marvel title. And I brought her a black t-shirt. It was a Carol Core t-shirt. And I said, "It's arts and crafts time," and handed her a bleach pen. And she signed the back of my t-shirt in bleach.
That's
and
awesome.
I let it sit, washed it off in the hotel or the convention center or bathroom. And it was totally fine. So like the color bleached out, but the fabric is fine. So this quilting cotton, you might lose some of the pattern if you had to bleach it. You might end up with white spots, but you can probably make it, decorative. Probably.
Oops. Did it go, Prime? Did you do it?
It's I'm really glad it's black on black because you can't really see how unstraight the lines are. But it's one piece now.
Once you start, you'll never stop. I like to make little paper, well, I guess they're not paper, but I'm doing it with the sewing machine, little fabric dolls. And then I give them to friends. So I call them pocket monsters, and you just put it in your pocket. So whenever you're worried, it comes with a little note. So it'll be there and it'll take your worries away.
Cute.
That's wonderful.
That's
very
amazing.
sweet.
Now you need to show us.
Yeah.
I will have to ask my, I'm trying to think of who has one. Alex might have one. No, Alex might have one because I made him one. And he carries it with him because he's the teacher. So he shows it to his kids when they're feeling anxious or whatever, and he says, "This is a pocket monster," and he goes through the whole thing about it.
That's
but
amazing.
I don't have one on me. Yeah, I think it's black and white striped with button eyes.
That's so cute.
I love that chat is giving us tips on getting blood out of fabric now. If you're just joining us, it's nothing sinister, we promise. Just sewing woes.
Or is it?
Hydrogen peroxide. I was once, so I was, as I said, I'm a friend of Padme Amidala's, and I was once helping her with one of her outfits, and it was going to be dyed silk. So it was white silk that was going to be dyed pastel colors. And I stabbed myself and started to bleed, and I was across the room before I could blink, like just gone, because I was not going to bleed on that gown. It needed to be it was just not going to happen, and I was gone.
That's awesome.
All right.
I think. So after we're done sewing, we just wait, right? I'm still going, guys, but you can go ahead. I'll catch up. I did choose the Arctic way.
You did. It's all right. So, I mean, we can wait. I can kill a little bit of time, but
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, on your pattern piece, on the end that we didn't put on the fold, so the shorter of the two ends here, it's got some little triangles marked on it. Those triangles mark the pleats. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make the pleats, which are what take it. Let's see, where's my partly finished one? Here we go. This is one that's in construction here. We're going to take it from being this wide down to this wide here. So you can see it gets quite a bit narrower. And that side is the sides of the face are going to stay like that, but the middle part of it is going to stretch out. So we pleat that down here. The pleats, so we mark it first. You can go to mark it on the back side of the fabric. So this side here is my top face. I can tell because the texture is really obvious in person, but it's harder to see on stream. Sorry about that. But on your back side, so the side that's going to be against your face, if your fabric is light, you can use a pencil. If your fabric is not, if your fabric is darker, my preference is chalkboard chalk, which works really well for drawing marks on black fabric. So if we've got my black fabric here, I can draw lines on it in chalk, and then they'll brush right off when I'm done with them, which is really nice. So I like chalkboard chalk, but you can also use, again, sort of whatever you've got. A light colored pencil would work, just something that will mark those pleats. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy. You've got 6 little teeny tiny triangles, and you're going to mark them off on your pattern piece, like so. Here, there we go. So you've got the pattern piece in paper, and now I've got little ticky marks on the sides of my mask pattern. Then you're going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side, so that both ends have the same. It becomes a single continuous line, basically. They both ends have that tick, 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 like so. So that both ends have those marks separate here. Let me let's see. Yeah. Once you've gotten those marked, you may as well go ahead and mark the nose and chin darts as well, since it'll be easier to do it while it's all flat here. So to do that, your pattern piece on the folded side, did we all get the pleats marked? Sorry. Yes? Okay, cool. So your pattern piece has these angles drawn in on it. That's the nose and chin dart. We're going to just pinch out a little bit of fabric, just like I talked about for the commercial masks, but here we're doing it as we build it. So here's my recommendation. Take your pattern piece and fold it along those lines.
Smart.
So now the shape of the pattern piece is dinted in a little bit. You can play around with this. I've found that for my face, this works really well as it is. I didn't feel the need to change it at all. but you might decide to fuss with the angle a little bit of it if you want to change how it fits. You can always hold it up to your face and sort of, pin it or pinch it, try it and see, does that feel like it might fit? Does it feel like it's weird? You can experiment with it. Or you could make your second mask differently than your first one, right? Like I've made a whole bunch at this point, and I have a bunch more I'm going to make for when we get to do Jedi training with Padawans in the fall, hopefully. And so your next several can all be customized. But in any case, fold them in, lay that down. Let's see. This is white on white. I've made poor choices because it's all white on white. So you're gonna lay that. Here's my fabric. Here's my pattern piece on the fabric. You're gonna lay that down so that your edge matches the outside edge here, and the center line is on the fold. And then I'm just gonna go through and trace this here, except that I can't keep I need more hands, so I'm gonna have to set the camera down. But you're gonna trace those so that you transfer that angle on here, so that you have that as a reference for when you're sewing it. Because you're gonna sew that angle so that I've now marked it on my pattern piece here. So eventually it's gonna get folded in like that. So we're eventually gonna fold it in half. We're gonna sew along that angle. And when we open it out, it's gonna have that angled seam in it that will angle over the bridge of our nose. So you're not gonna sew it right away, but you're just gonna go ahead and mark it on one side here. So we've got pleats, we've got our darts marked. Then we're gonna press in our darts here. So the way you wanna do this, and we're gonna have to, let's see here. We're going on another adventure. Whee! Dramatic selfie angle. It's a little known important part of Jedi training to know your best dramatic selfie camera angles. We have come over here to the ironing board, like so. So I've got a standard iron and a little ironing board. It's nothing fancy. Never, ever leave your iron plugged in, ever. If you step away from that for more than like 2 minutes or 2 seconds, unplug it, because nobody wants to burn the temple down. Not even Master Bahal, and he'll tell you he wants to burn the temple down. He does not. Like, it was an accident. No, you're not allowed to burn the temple down. So we're going to press the pleats in here. And the way you start is with the right side. So the right side is the face, the side that's going to show the world. The wrong side is the side that's going to be against your skin. With the right side down and the wrong side towards you. Then you're going to fold. This is where my secondary camera angle would be helpful. There we go. That sort of works.
That looks good.
Okay. So, like so, fashion side, inside. You're going to fold at the top, the first marked at the top end. You're going to bring it down towards you here. And then same thing on the other side. So you're folding down both ends like so. So it's folded over towards you and it kind of looks like an envelope. Take your iron and press that down. The exact settings for your iron depend on what fabric you're using. For quilting cotton, just kind of dial it all the way up as hot as it'll go. So you'd want to press that here. Now you've got a nice crease in there. So you get that crease pressed. If you don't have an iron, you can fold it and kind of thumb iron and just sort of press it down the way you'd crease something for origami folding, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I did, and it's worked pretty good.
Cool, I only have the tiny craft iron, but it's working.
Ah, that's so cute. I love it.
It's the smallest iron I've ever seen. I was considering running to get my straight iron for my hair. So does anyone iron clothes that way? Is that just me?
it's just you. So you've got your envelope piece. Turn it over. Fold it again at your second mark. Again, sort of towards you. So what you end up with here is a zigzag. So you've made your first press. Then you fold it back again at the other mark. So that what you're going to end up with, if you look at what we've got going on here, here's the top end of the face. Here's the nose. It's tucked up under. So this is our folded edge here, and then it kind of goes up underneath. It is the opposite of how a cummerbund functions, because a cummerbund, the pleats face up so you can stick your theater tickets in there. This, they face the other direction.
Wait, is that really the reason why cummerbunds go up?
That's how I remember it. Whether or not that is true, that's how I learned it. So I'm going to go ahead and stick a pin in here, if I can get it to cooperate, just to sort of help keep it stay there, because we folded it in. We're going to come back over to the other side and do the same thing. So we pleat the other direction. We end up with that pleat tucked so that the folded edge is down on the top edge, the top face of the fabric. So again, I'm putting a pin in just so I don't lose it. Now we want to press this, because the front edge is nicely, that's a press that, or a fold that's been pressed, but the back side needs to be pressed. So you flip it over so the wrong side is up, and you press that again. And you just, hit it a few times to make sure that that crease is going to stay. Now, when you're wearing it, and once you machine wash these things, they're going to look funky. Like, the creases are not going to stay and be perfect. But putting them in properly gets it to the right size as you're sewing it. So you do need to press them now, even if once you wash them, they'll be kind of squirrely. So that's the nature of it. You gotta put them in properly. All right. So we got our first one. We will do the same thing again. So the second one, I'm not gonna pin this one here yet, but same thing. Wrong side up, fold over at the new set of marks, which is a little further ways down, and then press that again. So you're making the top part of your second pleat. There's 3 pleats total. How are we doing on time? Cool, cool. Pleat. So these pleats end up being pretty thick, which means that you occasionally need to say very nice things to your sewing machine to get it to cooperate. Because it turns out, droids' rights are important. And sometimes your sewing droid is like, nah. And you need to say very nice things to it. And go ask your nearest tech-savvy Wookiee to help you. Or your tech-savvy clone trooper. Like, one of the great things about having a bunch of clone trooper friends is that they're all good at something. Like, whatever you need a guy for, you've got a guy. You've got a clone that can help you. So sometimes I need to call up Stripes and have him help me with my sewing droids, but he's pretty cool about it. All right. So same process for all of them. And we just, continue pleating at your own pace. And we'll meet back here when we're done, as it were.
Benedict Cumberbund is a great name, by the way. Chat brought it up and I had to say that. Props.
Sometimes I don't bother to pin my pleats, but they come out nicer if I do. And I want this to look good because it goes with my nice dress uniforms. So I'm gonna, as with every sewing project, you know, how fussy do you want to get, right? Do you want to be super fussy? Do you want to just kind of knock it out because you want to get it done? There is a time and a place for both attitudes. Queen Amidala's wardrobe is take all the time and effort that you need to make it look perfect. But you know, when you're going to be in the field, sometimes you just sort of knock it out and call it good.
Mm.
Oh, I think I just did that one backwards. Dang it.
It will probably still be okay, although you know, you can always reorganize the pleats if you need to. At this point, nothing's sewn in yet, so you can always fuss with them and adjust the pleats if you need to.
Yes.
All right. We're going to come back to the ironing board, but you still unplug the iron, because not setting the temple on fire. We don't do the Sith's jobs for them. All right. How are we feeling about pleats? Yes?
Pleated.
Jen gives me a sort of face.
I am so brain dead after just life today that I'm going to represent the group of crafters that it could have been, and it's going to still look amazing because I had fun with you guys.
Well, that counts.
Mm-hmm.
That counts. All right. So, I am back over here. I actually, let's see. Can we see it? We can, kind of. Here, I actually put the royal insignia of Naboo on the front of my sewing machine. So, yeah. Nope, that's terribly backlit. Okay. Eventually, the sun will go down, and then I won't have to worry about that. So, what we do next is we just sew the ends down here. So, you're just going to sew right over your pleats. You're going to say nice things to your friend, the sewing machine, to get it to cooperate with you. It will probably be fine, but it's still nice to just sort of say nice things to it occasionally. I appreciate you and your service. That's also part of why I put the nice logo on there, so it would know it was valued and appreciated. See, you laugh, and yet it works better that way. Like, it's absolutely more functional like this.
I feel like I need to say my computer just gave me the whole, you have to restart in 28 minutes or else. So if I leave in like 30 minutes, it's not because I'm angry. It's because my computer refuses to snooze its updates anymore.
Curses.
Sorry.
Although, if you want to rage quit from sewing, that would be hilarious.
So, what I've done to sew this down here, that light just keeps I need my light bulb. So, what I've done is just sew right alongside my previous seam. I should have done this not in white on white. Oh well. I sewed it right next to my previous seam, just inside, so just further into the seam allowance. So the new seam won't be visible at all, but just to make sure the pleats stay where I put them and don't come out. They'll be anchored further later, but that's the starting point here. Are you gonna run out of thread? You sure are.
threaded a needle with other people to watch, and I feel like I should have like some kind of dramatic Indiana Jones music playing in the background. You never know how old you are until you have to thread a needle.
I don't know what I've done, but there's a lot more thread in here than I feel like needs to be. It's probably impossible to see. It's very fuzzy.
Sometimes the droids are just like that. My usual advice when they're being persnickety is unthread and rethread the machine. Just pull the stuff all the way out and then put it back in there. And that often, and you can also just don't unthread the whole bobbin, but you can pull the bobbin out and then rethread it. And then feed it back through. And that sometimes also just something's just enough out of whack that just pulling it out and starting over helps.
Okay.
Cool. I've had to refill my bobbin, which is a thing that happens.
That's the most annoying part to me. I think everyone who has a machine has like their own annoying part. What's your most annoying sewing machine incident? Mine is the bobbin. I hate the bobbin.
I actually really like it. I think it's fascinating watching how it goes up and down and fills up and never gets tangled. I'll work on your bobbin sometime.
Never gets tangled.
Sorry.
Sorry, that was like a really sinister laugh, and I didn't mean it to be that sinister. Wow.
So, like, I have learned more or less how to solve bobbin issues. So what bothers me most about sewing machines is the tension. Because the tension of, exactly how hard the thread is pulling on it.
Did we lose?
Hopefully she'll come back.
I know. I'm just gonna start using glue.
We need our
jeweler. I have a white denim jacket I need to do something with. Let's bejewel it.
We see you go get masking tape and staples.
Like, I swear I know how to sew, but for some reason today my brain's like, I like your skin with it. Like, it's just constantly not working. I think I accidentally gave myself a tattoo with all the times I poked my But when you give it back to your mom, she'll be like, "Oh," and fix everything.
Looks like the general is having battery problems. So she should be back.
Okay. Good.
Did you ladies have bias tape, or are you gonna make your own? Yeah.
Oh.
Prime, you're in charge. You're in charge now.
This reminds me of the time, and this is going to show my age, but Wayne's World is one of my favorite movies. And when Wayne quits and he walks off stage and Garth is left in charge. Yay!
Are we back? Can you hear me now? Check 2, 3. I can hear you. Hey, there's the video back and everything. I think my battery died. It says 20%, so I think my computer might have just been like, "Nah, we're done." But we're on hard power now, so hopefully that will hold. Sorry, what did I miss?
Yeah, mildly panicking that we were not going to be able to finish this today.
And I said that it reminded me of the Wayne's World scene where Wayne quit and Garth was left doing it, and he was just like, "I'm having fun," not like Prime would be like,
That's no good. Yeah, no, my transmission just cut because it likes to do that some days, I guess. I don't know.
You forgot to whisper sweet nothings to it.
Yeah, I was so worried about the sewing machine, I forgot to worry about the internet connection and the computer. So sorry. We'll just leave it on the charger, I guess. I don't know. We'll experiment with what happens when I have to go back over to the rest of it. So face mask. That's the wrong side of it. All right. So face mask here. We now have these nice little pleats in there. Yeah, like so. Excellent. Fancy pleats. Okay, cool. So once you've got the pleats anchored, that's the hardest part because a lot of the rest of this is going to be straight lines. So once you've got those in there, you want to go ahead and put the darts in here. So you're going to fold it back along in this. You want to make sure to keep the pleats, to stay pleated. You're going to fold it in half along, the edge that was in half. My notifications are suddenly a thing. So it's folded in half, along the edge that was the middle beforehand. And the pleats might, now you've got a lot of fabric you're trying to fold, so you just kind of have to sort of carefully convince it to fold back in half here. So now we've got those lines where we marked the darts, and now we're going to sew those. So I'm going to stick some pins in. This is probably the part where precision is most important because you want to make sure that everything lines up and flattens out with those center tallest peaks. And then you stick a couple, 1 or 2 pins in there to help anchor it. The tip of the nose dart typically comes right down into or almost at the top of the first pleat. That's where it's supposed to be. You're not going to sew the pleats down, I guess is the term. You're going to want to sew them over, but not catch those pleats here. So what you're going to do is just sew right along that line.
For those following at home, the front-facing fabric is on the inside, correct?
Yes, because these darts are going to end up against your nose. So you can see it better on this one. This is my finished one here. So the gray here, that's the outside, right? The inside is sort of our light gray, and the inside is where the dart angle is.
Perfect.
Like so. Yeah, so you sew that with the right side, the outside facing fabric on the inside here, and then you're going to sew, and you can see I trimmed down, but you're going to sew the across the angle there. Thank you for catching that. I was definitely going to forget to mention it because it was obvious to me.
Are you still working on my outside then? You could say literally handcrafted though when you're done.
Right? That's pretty cool.
To be fair, I don't think I'm gonna have to say that. And that's okay.
I think we should have you do one while we all make little monsters.
Oh yeah, we could do that for Halloween.
Fun.
Intention monsters. And we can play like the Monster Mash in the background and drink fizzy drinks. Okay. Can we do that?
Probably not with the Monster Mash, but definitely everything else you said.
Okay. I can sing the Monster Mash occasionally.
I think that would be okay.
Great.
I'll have to look up some copyright laws.
I can like just change the beat. Do it.
Turns into the Monster Waltz or something. Oh, there you go.
The monster creatures. The monster thrash. Like, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yes.
It was a cemetery crash.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
They carried on in a flash.
So I was going to do this on stream as quality entertainment content of showing you how I thread my serger, but you can't see that from over there. And we tried to set up a secondary camera and it would not cooperate. So y'all don't get that. But what I can tell you, there's just... It's risky. What I can tell you about my serger, nope, there we go. What I can tell you about my serger is that it is full of the dark side of the Force, as all sergers are. And in order to appease it, I have labeled it with a sticker. Can you read it? That says Space Waffle Temple. It says 2 sides, 1 fork. Because, so I am part, I should have mentioned this earlier, I am part of a group called Saber Guild. Saber Guild is the film recognized preferred lightsaber.
I'm getting some sewing machine help. Can we hear Torrey still?
She keeps cutting in and out. Shit, like, do we say it in chat or?
I think she can still hear us.
Okay.
We've lost your audio. I'm getting some sewing machine help. My mom, because I've done something terrible.
No, hi, Prime's mom.
It's not sure. Where's the cover? I've been using these.
Let's see. Yeah, I can't hear you. Let's see. Did you get all the string caught up in the thingy? So you have to take out the other thingy to cut all the string? I do that all the time.
That might be it. It's just like this huge, like, thick wrapping of string every time I try to sew. It's terrible.
It could be like its own being in some universes.
Yeah.
If you put googly eyes on it, it's like...
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's like a string monster.
I do that all the time. I tried to tell her that we couldn't hear her, but I don't know if...
I think she knows. I think she...
Okay, cool.
I'll put it in the chat, too.
T-minus 11 minutes and counting for myself.
Oh, you gotta go in 11 minutes?
My computer's gonna restart with updates.
Oh,
What are you
gotcha.
trying to do?
The nose.
And then it'll only be Prime left with the sewing machine.
And then there was one.
And Prime's mom.
And Prime's mom.
I mean, I'm kind of excited. Like, it's already coming
I would
together.
watch it.
So, are you trying to sew it?
Can you hear me now?
Or this one?
Yes, we can hear you. I'm gonna mute myself
Yay.
real quick.
I did not sacrifice enough porgs to the sewing machine and the technology sides of the force, apparently. I deeply apologize.
Pretty entertaining, so.
One hopes.
I have to mute my mic because Prime's killing.
I just pressed the button. I'm not sure what happened.
Sewing machines are always delicate.
Yeah, seems like it. I'm
I
learning a lot.
didn't sew on my machine until I officially broke it and I had to put it back together, and then I felt like I could sew on it. So it
Ooh.
happens to everybody.
So we're just doing the little nose bit, right? Right now?
Right, so you want
Nose
to sew
and chin.
across, you do, well, both. Go and sew the nose and the chin bits.
Okay.
And once you get them sewn, there we go. Once you get them sewn, you can go ahead and trim them. So if you have a serger, that's what this whole thing was I was gonna kill time on stream by showing you how I thread my serger, and then I haven't given enough sacrifice to the dark side apparently, and it was just everything special. Sergers are inherently part of the dark side of the force. It's just how it is. The fascinating thing about my serger, so you would think, most sewing machines do well on like this kind of quilting cotton, right? The kind of quilting cotton that we're using now. My serger is happiest when it is sewing outdoor patio furniture fabric. When it's sewing this heavy duty, thick, plasticky polyester fabric, my serger loves it. Anything else, it's like, but where is my polyester? Where is my solar cherry fabric? And I'm like, but I need you to work on this. It's like, no, I want to work on the solar cherry, which is what this is called. It is what all of the Resistance X-Wing pilot suits are made out of, which is why I have a bunch of it. But it's very special. So Serger is going to cooperate because we're going to think nice things and think peaceful thoughts in the Force at it. And I'm going to go ahead, having sewn my nose and chin dart, I'm going to just serge the edges off. But if you don't have a serger, just trim it fairly close. Not too super close, but trim it fairly close. So I'll show you what that looks like when I've finished the seam here. There we go. Good beast. Good beast. All right. So now I've trimmed off those edges. And the way the serger works, we'll try that, see if you can see it a little bit better with the darker fabric here. The way the serger works is it cuts the end and then it loops a bunch of thread around it. So you end up with the seam, which is the bottom line, and then the little loopy white threads around the outside of it. So that's what I'm doing. So that's what I've done. But like I said, feel free to just sew it and then just trim it if you don't have a serger. Now, you can carefully flip it right side out and kind of see how it's going to fit. It's not going to be, it's going to be a little, like the edges get trimmed a teensy tiny bit, but this is pretty much how it's going to fit. So if you want to change anything about it, if it doesn't quite fit right, now is a good time to try, tweaking those, adjusting the darts, however you need to adjust it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We got our all right. Sewing machine. Do we have exciting thoughts in the chat? Various people are having tech issues. Yes. Cool. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So I was trying to tell y'all about Saber Guild, and then somewhere in there my audio went to droids. I don't remember. Did y'all get most of what I said about that, or do I need to go back?
I think you need to go back. I don't think we heard much of it.
I don't think we heard most of it.
Okay. Well, so while Alyssa's sewing machine gets back into working order, so Saber Guild is one of several Lucasfilm recognized costuming groups, which is to say that Disney and Lucasfilm let us use their intellectual property. We promised to be very nice with it, and they let us use it to make money for charity and to raise awareness. So one of the things that Saber Guild does, what makes Saber Guild special, is that we are the lightsaber choreography group. So we perform choreographed lightsaber fights. It is exactly as much fun as you were thinking right now. However much fun you think it is probably more. So we dress up as Jedi and as Sith, because you gotta have some bad guys. And so we dress up as Jedi and Sith, and we fight each other. It's all choreographed and rehearsed and practiced, but it is the most fun. It is one of the most fun and rewarding things I've ever done, and it's also one of the hardest. I will share a link to some of the performances. We actually performed in 2018 and 2019 at Geek Girl Con. We did 2 different performances there, which was just so much fun. We do a bunch of Emerald City Comic Con when that happens, stuff like that. And it's just so much fun, also so exhausting, and so much pushing yourself to learn new skills and do new things. And very few things will scare me, because I faced down Darth Vader and didn't die. I did not win. I ran away while someone else died, but I faced, Darth Vader stared me in the face, threatening to kill me, and I walked away from that. And there's just nothing can intimidate me at this point, because Vader couldn't. Yeah, so that's super fun. I will share. Let me see. I believe both of those shows are up on our YouTube channel, actually, if folks want to watch them. So you can see that. And so that's part of why we have such elaborate and detailed costumes, is because our goal is to look like we just stepped out of the screen. So Jedi, we have Sith, sometimes we fight each other, that sort of thing. So that's part of why I wanted to make a mask that matches my uniform, is so that when we're allowed to go back and do Padawan trainings again and visit children in hospitals, we have the appropriate matching face gear. So now the next step here is to put together the edges. And this is a little tedious, I'm not gonna lie, but there's a couple different options for how you want to finish off the edges. One of those is to use commercially available bias trim. So I've mentioned that as one of the supplies you might pick up. If you've got that, bias trim is already pre-folded in half, and you're just gonna wrap it around, I'll show you how, but you're gonna wrap it around the edges of your piece here. You're gonna wrap it around the edges basically and sew it in place. If you don't have bias trim, or you want your bias trim to be made out of fabric, you can cut a long strip and fold that up yourself, which is what I usually do, because I like that. So
I'll be back.
we're back. Yes, what's up?
Oh, I think she's having to take an update.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, be right back. That's what she said. She raised her hand. I was like, wait, does she have a question? We have a question from the audience. All right. So that's so the next thing is to cut and sew those edges, and it may take a little longer than I was originally hoping for, but we'll make it back. Yes, you said she'll be back. Okay. So yeah. If you have pre-existing bias trim, then just go ahead and use pre-existing bias trim. If you do not have pre-existing bias trim, you're going to cut yourself a strip, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go back over to my cutting table, but I'm not going to move my computer because everything went badly the last 2 times I tried to move my computer. So you're going to have to deal with the fact that I got very small and far away. But I just need a long strip of fabric, 2 inches wide. And the pattern talks about how to, let's see, I actually want it like that. The pattern gives sort of specific lengths because you need bias trim that's going to go around the face of the face mask, and you need bias trim to be the long edge strips. So I'm going to use my cutting mat, has grids pre-printed on it. I just picked it up on sale. It was great. I recommend them. You're going to cut a 2-inch wide strip of fabric. And you want to make sure that your fabric strip is long enough. So it depends on how you're doing it. If you want to make it an elastic ear loops mask, then you want to make sure that your piece of fabric is at least long enough to go all the way around the face of the mask itself, which this one is here. That's approximately how I'm going to do this one. If you want to make the ties built in and extended, then you need a couple short pieces that are about the length sideways of the side of the mask. So a couple pieces that are like 4 inches each. And then you want pieces that are, I think total the recommendation is about 40 inches in length, roughly. Because you want it to be able to go from your nose all the way around to the back of your head and have plenty left over at the end. So this is, yeah, this was probably 20 inches or 40 inches total of fabric when I started, right? The ends get folded over, so you lose a little bit. So you want to cut about 20 inches of fabric for your top and bottom pieces. And the side pieces is like 4 inches here. I'm gonna be fancy as threatened right? That the Jedi get fancy. So I'm going to get a little fancy with mine and actually do some piecing, which means I will probably save that and not finish it tonight, because I want to be extra. So you're going to cut your 2-inch wide strip or strips of fabric. So I've got one in my silk, which is going to go right around the face of the mask. And I'm going to cut another one. How well can you see anything when I do this? Here. I'm going to cut another one out of, as I said earlier, the same brown fabric that my tabards are made out of, because our uniforms may be simple and straightforward, but they are color coordinated and we look good. I can hear the Sith in my temple being like, how dare you? We look much better, but they are wrong. They just think they look better. It's something admittedly of a running joke to make fun of them for their looks, and they call us boring, and we're like, yeah, but you guys are, y'all shop at Hot Topic and Spencer's. Some of them look like they do. All right, so I'm cutting another 2-inch strip here out of my brown tabards fabric, and I'm just cutting it the width of the fabric, like however long that ends up being here, that's how long I'm going to cut it, just because it's easier. I went ahead before we started. I double checked and squared off the edges, because commercial fabric, like the edges are sometimes straight, but a lot of times they're just sort of quickly cut off at the fabric store, and you don't necessarily get a really reliably straight edge. So I checked and straightened the edge so that now I can use that straight edge as a measuring reference point for my strip. So I know one edge is straight already because I checked it in advance. And now I'm just going through to cut the other side here. Ta-da. So now I've got my brown fabric strip here, which is plenty long to go all the way around my head. So I made it too big, but it's always better to make them too big than not enough, right? So that's the theory. Now these strips, if we just sewed them on as is, the edges are going to fray everywhere, and we don't actually want that. So we're going to fold things over to prevent that. Now there's two ways. Where's all my fabric? There it is. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. What you want to do is you want to fold over the sides a little bit. So you're going to press it with the two sides folded over, and then we're going to fold it again and press it again. And you can just do that. Or if you're extra fancy and you have a bias tape maker and know how to use that, you can use that. It's a thing you can 3D print, or you can just buy one for like $5 or $6 at the fabric store, which is what I did.
That's cool. And they can 3D print it.
Yeah, it's a carefully angled tube, basically. And in the way that it's carefully angled, it sort of forcibly folds the fabric the way you want it to be folded. And it's really quite cool if the fabric will cooperate. Come on. It's trying. It's thinking about it. Come on. There you are. All right.
Hi, Tina.
Are you updated?
I'm updated.
Always the worst time, right?
So my bias strip maker curls the edges over for me because of the way you feed it in like sort of a U shape, and the internal workings force the fabric to curl and fold over. So it comes out the other end curled and folded but I then need to go iron it down to press that, because otherwise it's going to unfold. I'm going to just pull it through and it's going to unfold again. So I am gonna, you're going to get to see the very long distance version of me. Where's my brown? Like so. I'm going to press that. I'm going to go ahead and do this to both of my strips, right? Like so. Let's see. Is my chair just right in the way? I can't see my screen, so therefore I can't tell if you can see me, but I think you can.
Yep, we can see you.
Okay. Yeah. So the bias machine makes it easy, but if you don't have a bias machine, just, like I said, just fold over the two raw ends, curl them in roughly towards the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but like, so that both ends get folded over, and then you press it out like that. If you have pre-made bias tape, then you don't have to do that. If you want to do elastic ear loops, then like I said, you only need a little bit, like you need to do this, but only a little bit. Let's see. So the other thing, in addition to Saber Guild, which is one of my very favorite things to do, I'm also a member of the Rebel Legion, which is one of the other Lucasfilm recognized costuming groups. The Rebel Legion are all of the good guys. So all of our Jedi all Jedi can be members of the Rebel Legion. Princess Leia, Queen Amidala, Rey, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, anyone who's a good guy. Gender not relevant, but a good guy. Anyone who is on the side of the heroes can be a member of the Rebel Legion. So it's a little broader because Saber Guild is limited to lightsaber wielders, right? You got to be strong in the Force to be a Jedi or a Sith. But the Rebel Legion is anyone who's a good guy, so many of whom are not Force sensitive. And they mostly don't do the theatrical performance aspect, but we still dress up, go to conventions, visit children in hospitals, things like that.
That's so cool.
Raise money, spread joy. Yeah, it's super fun. We've been able to do a little bit through like these kinds of streaming things during the pandemic, but I have missed it. I have missed it a lot. We also have, let's see what else is out there. The 501st Legion are the bad guys. So stormtroopers, anyone like that. Their slogan is "Bad guys doing good."
Aw, that's so cute.
And the Rebel Legion is simply, we're the good guys, which I think is sort of an entertaining, trade back. Like, yeah, okay, I get that you're doing good, but like, we're just the good guys to begin with. Square off that end. All right. Let's see if this will work. Less certain that my bias tape maker is going to work with this fabric. It's a little heavier. Let's see if I can convince it.
I got bias tape that's really thin, and it's been a struggle.
Okay. Well, if you have bias tape, you don't need to be folding it. It's already folded.
Right, yes, but it's really thin and hard to sew for a noob like me.
Okay.
But we're getting there.
time just to help you out in perspective. I'm still finishing the edges, but I was watching visually, so I'm like a few steps behind, but I know what's going ahead. So
Well, for
There you
anybody
go.
who didn't have material or are a little bit behind, we will be posting this to YouTube afterwards, so then we can pause it.
Pause and catch up.
Don't
Yep.
be ashamed, guys.
Don't be ashamed.
Part of this, and I'm still like, yep, that's squirrel.
There we go. All right, come on. The bias tape maker and I are having some conversations, but I think they are productive conversations.
Nice.
Yeah. So, it'll show up a little better with the darker fabric here. So I've got that sort of folded around here, and I sort of jammed it in there and said some words. So, you just sort of pull that out and press it down there. So, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, if we don't finish tonight, we'll see how these things go. And if we have to, we can do a catch-up stream later on, maybe, where we touch base and are like, how did that go? Did it go well? Yes, no? Oh, this is not... What have you done? There we go. Okay. My fabric was like, what if I get twisted? And I was like, what if instead of that, you did literally anything else?
You do exactly what you're supposed to.
Right? So, whatever fabric you use, you want to make sure that it can take the heat of the iron and the heat of the washer and dryer. You don't want to make this be like dry clean only or anything like that. The point of a face mask is to wash it. So, just cranking that out. I do appreciate the bias tape maker, though. It definitely makes it go easier. All right. So once you run the bias through the bias maker or just fold it over the edges, you then need to fold it in half so that all of the raw edges get hidden. So I'll demonstrate that in a sec once I go ahead and press this end this side all the way.
Should have looked up Jedi pickup lines so we could post them in the chat. Because they have Star Trek pickup lines and they're pretty amazing. So
Yes, please.
Janae, I'm giving you a job if you're still there. We need Jedi pickup lines.
Something luminous beings are we, but this crude matter's kind of fun too. Something.
As long as it's like better than like your lightsaber is stronger than mine.
Ooh.
The classic Mel Brooks line, right? I see your shorts is as big as mine.
I love Mel Brooks. I love that movie. You're a roommate's brother's cousin.
All right. So there's my bias trim here, and then I just folded it in half so that now as it's folded, there's no raw edges visible. You got to fold here. You got sort of two folds on the one side and one fold on the other side. So it's all nice and protected. So here, let's see. All right. Just checking the chat in case anyone has exciting commentary.
Janae's about to bust up with some pickup lines.
It says, "You're the Obi-Wan for me."
Aww, cute.
A Valentine's Day card.
Yeah.
But would you want Obi-Wan? I mean, come on.
Whoa.
He didn't even remember that he had R2-D2 as a droid. I mean, what if
He
he were
wasn't
R2?
gonna admit to that. Come on. Trust me, don't forget R2.
I know. He's the one that helps me like practice my speech so I don't slip up. Beep, beep, beep.
Aw.
There we are. Okay.
Wanna be my Naboo?
That's adorable.
I do. You can write like a whole like little book about that. I want to be your Naboo. My
Cute.
Naboo with you. Yoda one for me.
All right. So, are we more or less set on bias tape? It takes a while. I'm happy to kill more time if need be.
Wait, did you already sew yours?
Not yet. That's what I was gonna talk about how to sew it on next.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, you're gonna start with the sides because they're the short seams, and it's sort of easier to keep track of how much you have there. All right. So you've got your side here. You're gonna take the right side, so the side facing outward of your mask, and you're going to line up so that the right side of your bias trim is against the right side of your mask, right sides together here. So, and again, you can't, I should have left the other one partly finished because on this one you could tell which side is which here. But you lay your right sides like so. So you've got one raw edge of your bias trim up along the edge of the fabric, and it's right side. So if you've got a print, make sure the print is touching the print of the face of your mask. And I just stuck a couple of pins in there. You're gonna sew along your fold. The shape of it is such that the seam along that fold should pretty much line up with the seams we did before, so that you'll have that sort of, it'll be more or less one line of stitching. You're just gonna sew that. Not a Dagobah that I don't think about you.
Cute.
I appreciate your service in finding these terrible pun pickup lines, Janae.
I'm not gonna lie, if a guy like was like, hey, I'd be like, cool, let's go have a bite outside in the parking lot.
Alrighty.
Are you sewing really slow, or is that where your machine's that's where it's at right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm going real slow. It's like thunk 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 thunk. I am not a confident sewer.
She broke it once. She doesn't want to break it again.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I wondered if she was being real careful.
Honestly, though, I tried to go a little bit faster and it wouldn't. So I think my mom maybe like changed it so it can only go this fast.
Brakes on there.
She's like, "What did you do?"
Safety setting.
Exactly. I can't be trusted.
Oh, it's like those new sewers.
Exactly.
You're adorable, Janae. Jeez. Good. I'm gonna have to send you guys a picture of my finished product because hands move slower than machines. But it's Jedi training, patience.
Exactly.
Patience.
So I bought bias tape ahead of time, so I was sewing it on that whole time that you were doing the tutorial, and I'm like not mad at this. Like, it's a functioning mask.
Hey, see, there you go. Nice.
Yeah, it's like a little pokey outy.
You can
keep
always
the germs
fuss with
off.
that, right? You can, change the pinching, fill it inside out, pinch it, and change the angles or whatever. That's really nice.
Nice. I'm
Good
really excited.
job. I like
My
it.
first sewing project was a complete disaster.
Hey.
Yay!
So I sewed mine on. I am extra about the way I sew on my bias trim, so I use a couple set of seams to do it. But honestly, you can just sandwich it over and stitch it down, which is probably what you did, and that works great. So you want to get your seams on there, and you want to do you do both ends. So you sew it on one way here. You can then trim the ends off, wrap this around it. So you wrap this up, over and down here, and then you stitch it again, which helps. It's a little more, it's fancier. It's a little more secure. It's a little more couture, if we want to be couture about things, which mostly I don't care about, but I like how that looks. So that's probably what I'm going to finish these up with. But you do that on the sides. You can use the short pieces, and then the long ones, like Alyssa did here, you run the long pieces, line them up in the centerpiece. Now, one thing you might want to unpick a teensy bit of your seam there, Alyssa, because one of the things I like to do is to cut a piece of florist wire about 4-ish inches long. What I did was get a piece of florist wire and measure how long it was and divide that by, be like, well, I want it to be around this much, and did the math so I get even chunks and wouldn't get some like little 2-inch bits or whatever. So I use like about 4.5 inches of florist wire, but whatever you have works. You can use, people were trying like flattened out twist ties. You can get special mask nose bridge aluminum pieces, but you want something with a little bit of bend in it. And then what you end up doing is you put the wire in here inside the bias trim, but over the top of the nose, not down the sides here, over the top of the nose. Because then, so this is an almost finished one that doesn't have the side loops on it yet. You can see it's got that stretch in it, or that it bends, it doesn't bend because there's a piece of wire in there. And then you custom bend the wire to your nose. So you kind of put those dents in it, right? And those dents, which you then, make it be your face-shaped dent, those dents will help it seal better to your face, and they help prevent your glasses from fogging up. If you're wearing glasses or sunglasses, the wire keeps it, because the reason your glasses fog up is because your moist breath comes out and then it's immediately driven straight up because it hits the mask and bounces up. Like, yes, some gets through, but the majority of it just gets, the breeze moves it up and hits your glasses. So if you seal it better to your nose here, then the moist air either has to go like out around the sides or just through the mask, which is what we want. We want it to be going through the cotton fabric, not peeking around the edges, because if it peeks around the edges, that's how you get droplets out.
I should have waited.
You can, like I said, you don't need to unpick it much. You just need a little tiny gap so you can sneak the wire in there, and then you can sew it back up.
Okay, cool.
Wait,
So,
do you wear glasses?
I do, actually. I pretty much specifically wear contacts these days just to go out because I hate wearing a mask with my glasses.
I want to see your glasses.
If ever we do a Let's Play of a really intense game, you'll see me with my glasses on, because any game that's like a first-person shooter that you like can't blink for a long time really doesn't work well with contacts.
First-person shooters? Okay. Deal.
We're doing it.
Chat says, I've also seen people wear those nasal strips under their masks to prevent fogginess
yeah.
with glasses, which is also a good
Oh.
option.
Hey, that's a great idea, actually.
Yeah.
You can also, and I know this from some of my Sith Lord friends, like Darth Vader, will put a very thin film of dish soap on the insides of their mask, like or glasses, bubbles, whatever the visor you're trying to see through. Just a real thin film of dish soap. Wipe it off, but don't scrub it off, and that will help resist fogging because any moisture that hits it will run off.
Interesting.
It's like a diver's tip for diving face mask. So, yeah.
Nice.
Really cool.
Yeah, so you can do that. So, you can run your strips all the way around. I'm probably going to finish this later, but I did want to talk about if you don't want to tie them and you want, for whatever reason, you want elastic ear loops, all you got to do is cut some elastic and sew it on. So this is just, there we go. This is just hand sewn elastic, like it's just stretchy elastic. And I just hand sewed it on. This one I actually had to adjust because I made it too big to begin with. But the body of this mask is made exactly the same way these ones are. The front fabric is decorative. It's 2 layers of cotton plus the 1 layer that matches Amidala's costume. And then you've got a nice little ear loops, which are quicker to put on. The downside is it's not playing well with my earbuds. You do have to fuss, and honestly, I think I still need to tweak the settings on this one to make it fit a little differently. But once you get the length where you want it, there you go. And someday, who knows when, someday I will be able to go get a haircut. And my salon is very specific about ear loop masks, so they can cut your hair, right? Because my hair is past shoulder length and it's not supposed to be. So it's supposed to look like this here. It's supposed to be very short, and so I'm very mad about that. But the ear loop masks are good for that. One of the other great things that we do as characters, as part of the Rebel Legion and Saber Guild, is we have trading cards made up.
What?
So these are my trading cards. Yes. So I was going to say, if you're watching this either on YouTube or on stream, message me at Tereshkova Costuming on Instagram, and I will mail you a set of my trading cards if you want them.
I
will give me your mailing address.
trading cards.
Yeah, I will mail them to you because I would give them out in person if we were in person. So I have one for my X-Wing pilot. Her call sign is Flask because I teach chemistry in my day job. I have one for my Jedi, my other Jedi, Anharat Verkio, who is a knight. I don't yet have trading cards for my general with the gauntlets. And then I have cards for my Padme Amidala, which is my Pride Squadron trading card. So she's got a bunch of extra rainbows because you can never have too many rainbows.
Never.
Yeah. So message me, like I said. I'll drop the link. Let's see if I can link this.
Yeah,
I want all the rainbows.
Right? Yes, please.
My shoes are rainbows. This is amazing.
Tina, how's your mask coming?
I am almost done.
Yay!
I love that you're wearing yours, Prime.
I'm so proud of this.
For a first sewing, this is not easy for a first sewing thing, so you did great.
Yeah, at least you got to finish.
Right?
Next time I'm totally bringing my machine.
Right?
I was just trying to represent other class.
I have great respect for hand sewing. It's just not fast.
Yeah,
It's not fast.
About hand
And I'm
sewing.
not patient enough to do it. I can't. I think you should go to all your meetings like that, Prime. You don't need to wear makeup. Just
right? I so want to. People will be like, why are you wearing a mask? It's like, because I made it and it's amazing.
Exactly. You need reason.
It's like that quote from The Princess Bride, right? In the future, everyone will be wearing them. They're terribly comfortable.
Exactly. Oh, Tina, it looks so good.
I love
Oh, you look great.
I love the sugar skull Darth Vader.
Yeah, those are so cool.
Yeah. So this is the other one I've been working on here that I'm gonna finish up with the ear loops, which is the Hubble Deep Field image of all of the different galaxies.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna put elastic on this one. I just haven't quite yet, but that one has that.
Love that one. That one's so cool.
And a little teensy tiny Captain Marvel detail.
Oh,
You pretty much
nice.
only know it's her if I tell you that it's her.
Yeah.
But I have a bunch of fabric, and I was like, I have just enough to cut off some strips and finish trimming this.
Nice.
So that's my secret. So yeah, I'm happy to so it's 9:07. I'm happy to stick around, and I can keep working on and fussing on mine. Or if folks have other thoughts, questions, concerns, comments, we can just hang out and chat, whatever.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yes, thank you.
So much.
I have to go order food.
Oh, yeah.
So again, message me for trading cards.
Yes.
Mine's in the. I put some of my links, and our moderator, I think Taryn Volumnia, dropped the rest of my links, so you can find me on Facebook, on Tumblr, on Instagram as Tereshkova Costuming. You can find me on Twitter as Tereshkova 2001, which is less costumes focused and more. I just run my mouth about everything because I'm me. But if you message me on any of those services and tell me you were watching the stream and give me a mailing address, I will mail you these. I will also even throw in my superhero trading cards, which, where are those? I am also, they're running away from me. I also have Captain America and Ms. Marvel, Danvers Ms. Marvel trading cards, which I will include as well.
Amazing.
Very cool.
I have too much fun. It is a fact. Oh, here we go. Here are my excellent pilot friends.
Oh, so
Nice.
fun.
Yeah. I
So
have
cool.
far too much fun. I am currently commanding officer of our X-Wing and other Rebel pilots. We have local elections, so I get to use the call sign Alpha Leader, which is also like one of the most fun things I've ever done, is being able to be like, yeah, I'm Alpha Leader, standing by. Alpha Squadron, report in. And then everyone reports in. It's great.
Mm.
Janae, I'm not sharing when I'm done. I feel like that's just.
Oh.
I will represent for the hand sewers out there, the non-sewing hand sewers.
Share it whenever you get done, because it'll get done eventually.
Mhm.
And you
It
should
will.
share it.
Totally. I'm much better at crochet and knitting.
See, I can't do that at all. Like that's not my thing. I do also have my my holocron here.
Ooh. That's really cool.
Yeah. Did I leave a crystal in it, or did I take the crystal out? I can't remember. It's doing the thing where it sounds like a Sith Lord got a little too invested in it. Yeah, there's your problem. There's your problem. And that's probably why my machines were having so much trouble, is that the Sith got to my holocron. I was like, it'll be a great pattern weight, but the Sith got hold of it and everything went downhill from there.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I picked this up on Batu, which is a delightful outpost you should visit if you get the chance now that they're starting to reopen.
Mm.
So,
Very cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, should we say goodnight?
Yeah.
I think so. What are our final notes? Stream, let's see, what was it? Among Us tomorrow? Or not
That's right.
tomorrow, on Thursday?
That's right. Yep.
Among Us on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Next Tuesday, you get to catch me again on our next episode of Geek Girl Cosplay, where this was white fabric and it is now pale blue. And I will tell you all about how to dye fabric. We'll do some live on-stream demonstrations of fabric dyeing. and I'll show off some of my very favorite pieces of costume work I've ever done. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's
Sounds good.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you so
Torrey.
much, all of you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
We'll see you
Bye.
next time.
May the force be with you.